Tracker 6. This is Forecast First, sponsored by Auto Owners Insurance. Simple human sense.
Good morning, Mid-Michigan. We're seeing those temperatures a little bit chilly this morning into the 20s, 25 degrees in Charlotte, 26 in Mason, 25 in Lansing, and 24 in Jackson. Satellite and radar is looking a little bit quiet as well, as we're going to continue to see those cloudy skies becoming a little bit more clearer as the day progresses. Over the next 12 hours, we'll continue to see those temperatures into the 20s with the wind chills right around the teens. So it's still going to feel a little bit chilly today, but still a lot better than where we were this time last week. All the full details coming up in just a little bit. 6 News This Morning starts right now.
WLNS is here for you with 6 News This Morning.
Good morning, Mid-Michigan, and thank you so much for waking up with us today. It's Sunday, January 26th. I'm Dalen Huff, and we're here for you now with this morning's top stories. We start in Miami with President Trump this morning for the latest on his first week back in office. The president crisscrossed the country in his first domestic trip, and aboard the Air Force One, he spoke to reporters about everything from his plan to the Middle East to selling TikTok. Bradley Blackburn is here with the latest.
In Las Vegas Saturday, President Trump walked the floor of a casino and paused briefly at a craps table. Later, aboard Air Force One, he showed his cards to reporters on a host of issues, speaking about his ideas for refugees in Gaza.
I'd like Egypt to take people, and I'd like Jordan to take people. You're talking about probably 1.5 million people, and we just clean out that whole thing.
The president also spoke about lifting a Biden-era limit on sending 2,000-pound bombs to Israel. He said he'd consider making Saudi Arabia his first foreign trip. And he also talked about selling TikTok to a domestic owner.
Numerous people are talking to me, very substantial people, about buying it. And I'd make that decision probably over the next 30 days.
On Saturday, Trump spoke at a rally in Las Vegas and renewed his promise to eliminate tax on tips.
Tipped income, your tips will be 100% yours. Won't that be nice?
The president's cabinet is taking shape with the Senate confirmation of Kristi Noem as Homeland Security Secretary and Pete Hegseth as Secretary of Defense. But some lawmakers are pushing back on Trump's sudden firing of more than a dozen federal inspectors general.
One more example of a lack of respect for rule of law.
These firings are Donald Trump's way of telling us he is terrified of accountability and is hostile to facts and to transparency.
Federal law requires that Congress receive 30 days' notice, and the firings will likely be challenged in court. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Also in Washington, President Donald Trump's Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, became the 4th member of his new cabinet to be sworn in yesterday. That brings a total of 4 confirmations. Pete Hegseth was also confirmed this weekend. He will be leading the Defense Department. In that vote, J.D. Vance, Vice President, has stepped in to cast the deciding ballot after the Senate ended in a 50-50 tie. Marco Rubio was also confirmed as Secretary of State earlier this week, along with John Ratcliffe, the new director of the CIA. And speaking of the CIA, Director Ratcliffe released a classified report overnight about the origins of the coronavirus. According to the document, the CIA believes the virus was accidentally released from a Wuhan Institute of Virology as a part of a lab accident. The agency believed that this was most likely the case given the evidence available to them, although they can't rule out a natural source for sure. The CIA also said that the true answer might never be known because the data has already been kept a secret by the Chinese government. The conclusion was based on the intelligence about the spread of the virus, scientific properties, and the inner workings of China's virology labs. The ongoing debate over the origins of the virus are still expected to play a major role in upcoming negotiations between the new administration in Beijing. We take you now to northern Michigan, where the DNR is working on a project that will reintroduce a species in Michigan for the first time in 90 years. Officials say 400,000 Arctic grayling eggs will be planted in Michigan waters. The fish is a part of the salmon family and used to be an important part of the food chain, but they disappeared in the 30s because of habitat destruction. These fish are also sacred to the Native Nation tribes in that area, and the DNR says they will give the grayling eggs back to those tribes in the spring, and they will be responsible for getting them into the rivers and back into the ecosystem. Staying in the Great Lakes state, a freighter that had been trapped in a frozen Lake Erie for days was freed yesterday as a part of a joint effort by the U.S. and Canadian Coast Guards. It all started Wednesday when the Mantillon, a 663-foot Canadian vessel with 17 people on board, got stuck on its way back to Canada after delivering a load in Buffalo, New York. According to officials, the ship was not damaged and the crew is safe. The U.S. Coast Guard icebreaking ship has been working since Thursday to help the Mantillon, and last night a second ship arrived to help free the freighter.
From Storm Tracker 6, this is Weather on the Sixes, sponsored by Auto Owners Insurance. Simple human sense.
Well, we're seeing those quiet conditions right now across the area. In fact, as we look out at our Jackson cam, we're seeing just some quiet conditions, maybe a little bit of some wet roadways after those snow showers came through last night. Those snow showers were associated with the cold front that passed, and now we're just seeing those temperatures into the 20s for this morning. We're seeing 26 degrees in Marshall, 24 in Jackson, 21 in Hillsdale, and 25 degrees in Lansing. We're also seeing our wind chills into the teens, so it's a little bit chilly this morning, but we're eventually going to see some clear skies. In fact, we're seeing a little bit of some clearing here and there, but we'll gradually see clearer skies today as we also see this high pressure system slowly work its way in. But we do have another system working its way in that's going to cause some very gusty winds in the forecast. But for today, we're going to continue to see cloudy skies for the first half of the day. Then as we head into the afternoon, that's when we see some clearing, and we'll see clear skies for tonight. Today, temperatures are going to be back into the 20s, 27 degrees, which is pretty close to average, a few degrees cooler than where we were yesterday. And we're going to continue to see those clearing skies as we head into the afternoon. Now, we'll still see a little bit of some breezy conditions today, but then we'll see those gusts gust up to 20 to 30, 30 to 40, and even 40 to 50 miles per hour for tomorrow. So again, very gusty winds in the forecast. So if you have any loose decorations out or your trash barrel is out, you might want to be aware of that for tomorrow, as we're going to see some gusty winds for tomorrow.
Yeah, with those flags I saw yesterday, it got pretty windy.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's windy, cold. I cannot wait for spring.
We're getting there. We're gaining sunshine
Hopefully.
day by day.
Well, thank you, Kelsey.